everybody.
Hello.
Hello. How's it going? Welcome to the Keep Pluggin podcast, week number 12.
Yeah, 12.
Were you thinking about the Spanish word for 12 for a second there?
No, I thought it was 11.
Wait, is it 11?
No, I double checked.
No,
it's 12.
Yeah, last week was 11. Ben, how you doing tonight?
Great, how are you?
You know I'm always great, Ben.
Good to know.
It is good to know.
Good to know, I know.
Ben, I'm not even gonna give like the weird my little warm up. This week for looking back into gaming history, I'm honestly so excited because this is one of the games that like I wanted to talk about when we were envisioning this podcast. This is one of the games I pictured us talking about when we were envisioning the podcast. So Ben, what are we talking about this week?
Portal 2 came out April 19th, 2011.
April 19th, 2 days after my birthday, which was yesterday. Which,
nice.
Yeah.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. We hung out, so you know about it.
And this is a favorite of both of us, of ours.
It is an all-time favorite of both of ours. The cool thing too about this game, this is one of the first games that we like played and talked about together because it came 2011, came out in April. I remember I got my birthday money with it. Did I ever tell you the story of how I got the game too?
No.
I have a really funny story about how I got the game. So our buddy Dan Roach, who's been on the podcast, and me, so he's always really good with this stuff, as you know, because you've taken advantage of it with him. But he told me about this thing where, for some reason, the game was listed as $50 on BestBuy.com.
Mm-hmm.
So Best Buy does price match, and in particular, they do price match with their own website. So I think there was some kind of glitch and no one fixed it. And like those early, this is like 2011, so like Twitter wasn't quite as big of a thing for whatever reason. All I know is that literally for days this was an issue, or it was like a sale thing. But either way, he told me that he took that to the Best Buy. They matched it, and he got the game for $10 less. So I remember the game came out before my birthday, so I didn't get it. But I literally took my birthday money, did the same thing. I remember it was this old lady too, and she was like so flustered about the whole thing. She was like, "I don't get it. Why is it a different price online?" I just remember because like in the year since I've just been like, I made that date. I like ruined that poor old woman's day. She's like working at Best Buy, just trying to get by, and I come through and I'm like, I want Portal 2 for $10 less. But I mean, I got it on sale.
There you go. All you gotta do is all you gotta do is ruin an old woman's day.
All you have to do is ruin an old woman's day to get your game for $10 less. But
exactly,
dude, I would pay $110. I love
such a good game. You know what my favorite part is? Stephen Merchant.
Oh, he's the best in that game.
Yeah, he's not actually my favorite part, but he does do a great performance.
Oh, I would honestly say he is.
He's a valid part to be your favorite.
He's a valid part to be your favorite. He's definitely, I don't know if he's my all-time favorite, but his performance as Wheatley is fantastic. I didn't even really know him before that, and that got me very into his comedy. I started watching some of his stuff. A couple years later, he had that show Hello Ladies on HBO. I watched all that show.
Actually, I don't know about that show. I watched some of it.
You didn't like it?
I don't know about it.
It's like
it was very just like idiot guy sitcom.
Well, it was that kind of mixed with the British Office cringe comedy.
Yeah, I guess it was so cringy that the show was just cringy. It wasn't like the character, but the show itself made me cringe.
It was very cringy. It was weird too. Stephen Merchant's an interesting actor because he's such a likable guy. It seems like, but he's so good at playing like he can either be a very likable character or like a very creepy character.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
but regardless of that,
this is
Portal puzzles.
Oh man,
this isn't The Office.
This isn't The Office. Although I mean, but the performances. There's so many great performances in that game.
Oh yeah, you can't have that Portal without great voice acting. That's such a big part of it, especially as a silent protagonist in the sterile environment as the only human. You gotta have those robot companions are a huge part of the game.
They are. No, I mean, obviously GLaDOS from the first game is iconic at this point, but Stephen Merchant is Wheatley, and then also J.K. Simmons. Remember J.K. Simmons?
Oh yeah,
he's so good in that game.
He did really great too. Lemons.
I
even found that one of the super subterranean levels you can find some secret voiceovers.
Really?
Of his, yeah. On one of the levels is like a ship container or something, and if you go up to the doors and click on the doors, he gives you a secret.
Oh, now you make me wanna. Okay, we are we are very much so all over our place with a love for this game. So let's focus in for a second. What, Ben, in your opinion, getting away from the J.K. Simmons and the Lemons and the Stephen Merchants, and just getting down to brass tacks, what is it about Portal 2, A, that makes it such a great game, but B, also makes it such a perfect example of like a sequel done right?
Well, I think the answer is pretty similar for both those of what makes it a great game and what makes it a great sequel. I think I personally like it better than the original Portal,
I do too.
even though the original is like really special and like is a one of a kind game, and definitely a lot of other things couldn't exist without it, especially Portal 2. But Portal 2 does a great job of perfecting all the mechanics and also adding things that don't bog it down but are actually good like extrapolations of the Portal mechanic, like the goo, the bouncy goo and the speed goo, and what was the other addition?
It was the bouncy goo, the speed goo, and there was like the light bridges.
The light bridges were one. I feel like there was another one,
There was like a zero
another
gravity
mechanic.
thing that was teased, but it wasn't in the final game. Like, do you remember like when they showed it off at E3 2010? There was like some mechanics that didn't make it in the final game.
I don't remember that,
Mm.
but I still think there's another mechanic we're forgetting.
I think maybe there is
Oh,
zero.
oh, was it? It was the paint where you could put portals on whatever surface you painted.
That's
The
right.
goopy white stuff.
The white ones. That's right.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, that was. Oh my man, some of
That
those puzzles.
you know that one level where you just can just paint everything. There's just like an arena,
yes.
and you just splosh everything. But yeah, I think the also the story, they really rounded out the story, and none of the humor was lost in the sequel. It had the right tone to everything,
It did.
and making it a longer adventure rather than the Portal is like 2.5 hours. Like if you're good at it, you could probably beat it in like 20 minutes.
I think I've seen speedruns that are like around 20 to 30 minutes even.
Yeah, but I liked the longer game was good, especially even if we talked about kind of how in a game like Portal, a second playthrough might not be as appealing just because you know all the answers. You might need to wait a while to forget stuff. It's not like an open world or anything, but it still does a good job of keeping it interesting throughout, I think.
I mean, just even thinking over in my brain, because we talked about this, Ben. I know you've played the game through the game about 3 times. I played the game like 1.25 times. I did. I barreled through that game. And again, something cool I brought up. You and me were playing through it at a pretty consistent pace, and we were talking about it together like almost every day at lunch. And that was probably my first example of that too. Like wanting to be in a discourse with someone about something so bad that I was like, I have to play this game when I get home.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, also we were seniors in high school, and it wasn't like we had anything better to do. But I every moment of that game, like not even 5 years now. It's geez 6, just about 6, literally 6 years later, pretty much to the day. Because I bought the game right when it came out. Like I remember so much of it so vividly.
Mm-hmm.
GLaDOS Potato. I remember
that was great.
That was that sequence when Wheatley like goes crazy is like one of my favorite sequences in a video game.
The game does a really good job of having those like plot sequences, and the chapters are doled out in a really satisfying way. I think the pacing is done really well.
It is because kind of to get back on point, the reason I bring all this up is that you're right. The first Portal was such a short experience, but there's something so cool about the fact that in Portal 2 they were able to keep the momentum and frankly even go so far above and beyond. I mean, we basically get kind of at least what's alluded to be an origin story for GLaDOS in the game. We get a humanization of the first game's villain. We get a brand new compelling companion that becomes a villain. We get an entire 9-hour game that expands upon the world and doesn't ever feel like it goes too far and is compelling throughout. And we're talking about a sequel to a game that was like that was like considered like a tacked on like puzzle experience in the orange box. Like there's not enough good things I can say about that game even 6 years later. And I do wonder if some of it is rose tinted glasses though. But again, you've played the game and you have a more critical eye because you've played it multiple times, and you feel similarly, which makes me feel like Portal 2. I really just think there's something about that game where it truly is timeless. You know.
It's definitely something special, and I also just love how the timeline is presented, because you wake up and it's like, what is it, like 5,000 years later or something crazy like that.
Oh, it's like 300 or
and
something.
and then you like you go through some levels, and then you meet like the decrepit GLaDOS for the first time again.
Yes.
That first meeting of GLaDOS after all that time, it's a pretty great moment.
Yes, when she comes back online, and then
Yeah, and she's all covered in moss and stuff at first.
yes, and
And then
then
also the whole part when you're going through the old chambers, and they're
yeah,
all just destroyed and overgrown.
and then as you go in, she'll like fix them up kind of and be
Yeah,
like, you got to
yeah.
do them. And then
That
later,
was some really good theming.
yeah, that's I never thought about that, but that's so important to it. Is that this is interesting too because we've talked about Portal, how every level in the first game had this aesthetic, and it stuck to it, and how Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild does something similar with the shrines. But
Hmm.
interestingly enough, Portal 2 makes such a smart decision because it constantly is remixing and changing your settings. I mean, what you just described, it's about the first third of the game. The game is very, very much so broken into three acts in a traditional screenplay way. Then you go down into the subterranean post
Hmm.
original Aperture Science, where you get this amazing backstory of Aperture Science and GLaDOS.
Yeah, and it weaves in the mechanics, 'cause that's where you get the goop and stuff, because it's all these
Exactly.
old experiments from the early Aperture Science.
And then you rise up and you go to Wheatley Industries, which is like,
Yeah, it
yeah,
changes again.
that was such a cool thing that I don't think I ever appreciated at the time, just how much they work to give you new environments, and the same way they do with Half-Life. Like you get to spend a lot of time in an environment, but just when it could start to get old, they switch it up on you
Hmm. And it's done in such a clever way all the time.
always. So I guess before we wrap this up, the question I have to ask is, do you think we're ever going to get a Portal 3?
Ooh, well, of course I actually I don't know if I'd like the Portal 3, because it's such a satisfying ending.
It
They
is.
actually wrapped it up pretty well,
It is.
and you can always make another sequel even if you wrap it up. But I just like that, and I like the way they ended on the relationship of GLaDOS and Chell at the ending there,
I agree.
and the song and everything. It's
Oh,
wrapped up quite nicely.
I think that song is as good, if not even better, than Still Alive.
And I'd have to disagree.
It's a pretty great song.
I'm not denying that. I love both the songs a lot, but Still Alive is way more
Well,
classic.
it
I
is
think.
iconic. It is
Yeah,
iconic.
it's more iconic.
Iconic doesn't mean to be fair, I haven't heard either song in a while, so I'll I'll hold my tongue for now. But I do remember that I love both songs.
I love both also.
Maybe I will always hold out hope that someday they're going to release that and Half-Life 3 and Left 4 Dead 3 and the Orange Box 2, and just I'll cry tears of joy and play them
There's
forever.
just 1 month they're gonna just release every third game in every series.
I'm just gonna take my picture of Gaben that I keep under my pillow at night and kiss it and say thank you, Gaben, for finally giving us what we wanted. But oh well, we can. There are many conversations that we have about Valve, and I think we're gonna do that another day. But for now, transitioning from the Portal that you and I became friends over to the games we're playing right now as we're podcasting for the world over. What a
Beautiful.
thank you, thank you. See, it's my birthday week, so he's being nice to me about this one, guys. Ben, what are you playing this week?
I've definitely still been obsessed with Zelda, but I've been trying to dabble in other things.
Mhm.
And I guess I just wanted to talk about some of the free demos on Switch,
Go for it.
and especially Puyo Tetris,
Puyo
which
Puyo, talk it up.
I've been playing the Japanese one because I got the Japanese account on my Switch, and it's still so awesome. You can just download Japanese software.
Right. I don't think we've talked about that too much, but I know you and Dan were playing around with that. Like, what have you gotten on that, just in general, besides Puyo Puyo?
Dragon Quest something. It's called Heroes something.
Oh, it's like the Dynasty Warriors type game, right? It's like the hack and slash one.
It might be actually. Well, it's not like that in the demo, but it's something with a subtitle. It's not a main Dragon Quest.
Okay.
And that one's exclusive to Japan as well. But actually, they just released the American Puyo Tetris,
Right.
which I couldn't find it on the eShop, but I'm pretty sure it was released regardless.
Is that only eShop or is that a physical game too?
I'm not sure. But I was playing it, and we realized that you really need a D-pad for puzzle games. And I think when I was playing it by myself, like, obviously I'm just playing Tetris. Like, Puyo is just, like, not good to me. I don't know. I was trying it, and it's just I don't know. It's not satisfying. At first, it reminded me of Puzzle Fighter for the GBA, and it's just not actually like that. It's just kind of matching three colors, which is so basic. But Tetris is a classic forever, so you can kind of just play that. And the versus is good, but if you're not using a full controller,
How interesting. I'm sorry. Just one point that I, for my own sake, even just one clarification on. So it's just matching three when it's Puyo, and then it goes back and forth between the Tetris parts, right?
there
So
is a switching mode,
there's
but
a
I couldn't find it in the Japanese menu.
okay
So we were just playing
Puyo.
regular Tetris versus or Puyo versus. We
Okay,
tried both, and Tetris is amazing as usual, but it felt really weird using the stick on the sideways Joy-Con as a D-pad.
yeah, because I mean the precise D-pad like implementation of Tetris is like so important to it.
Exactly, like puzzle games in general and Tetris especially, you need that really like you got to be able to move your thumb, slide it around that pad. At least personally, I really think so. And so yeah, it just felt like the stick on the Joy-Con is delicate, and I don't know, just the way it is. It wasn't conducive to playing Tetris, but yeah. So also, I wasn't feeling Puyo, and
Just wasn't doing it for you.
wasn't doing it for me. But I think with the D-pad or the grip, when you have the more control over the pieces, it's definitely a good game. And any way to get Tetris on it at any system is good. And I think they put Tetris with Puyo to like boost Puyo up because they're not gonna. No one's gonna buy Puyo by itself.
I No one in America at least. I mean, Puyo is pretty. I think at least pretty popular in Japan, right?
I wouldn't be surprised.
It's an interesting idea, and I like the idea of the hybrid mode at least, like having to play Tetris and you switch to something else. That to me has always been the selling point of that game. I don't know if it's a must buy right now for me in the Switch, but it's definitely one that's been on my radar. Do you think you're going to get the full version?
I doubt it honestly. I think sooner than that, I'd probably get the American demo and see how that works out.
True, yeah, because then you could find the hybrid demo and you can, or the hybrid mode, and you can try that out. Because
Yeah,
I think
more
at least
thoroughly experience it.
I think at least that's going to be a main draw of it, especially because, like you said, if you're just playing in two-player mode using each half the Joy-Con, it's going to be hard to particularly play the Puyo part. Might be better. I think you even did you find it work better?
Not really.
No, so
We tried snipper clips right after, and I found it was totally fine with that with the sideways Joy-Con.
mhm.
So I think it really was just the puzzle games that I felt needed D-pad.
See, this is interesting because this goes back to a debate that I was having with a little bit with you, but more with our friend Dan Roach before the Switch came out, which is in every case, is it going to be feasible to use the Joy-Con? I guess at the time it was more about like in some cases, obviously, if a game needs two analog control, it's not going to be possible. But there's a lot of games coming out now where like it could be a big draw, but I do wonder if the fact that it's a joystick versus like a digital pad is gonna lead to more and more of this stuff. Just because we have what is it? Street Fighter 2 is coming out, and like I mean, fighting games need like a good D pad.
Yeah, true.
What else did you play though?
Well, the Dragon Quest demo was just like completely underwhelming because every aspect of it to me just seems kind of like a Breath of the Wild wannabe. Just like the graphics and the terrain. And I mean, it's not really fair to judge it based on that, but just me coming off of Breath of the Wild and going into that and just like looking out off a cliff and seeing like a mountain and like there's a gap between you and the mountain. And I'm just like, I really just want to jump paraglide over there and climb off the wall. And there's just an invisible wall. And I think it's kind of telling to what games might feel like going forward. Just
Embracing
how
that.
free. I'm saying how free Breath of the Wild is training me to want that, and now constrained games you feel even more constrained.
I mean, that's such a cool thing though. Like even though it does suck that you're having that kind of, I like to call it Witcher syndrome, just because I associate it with my friend Aaron Wolsdorf, who he played. It could be Dark Souls syndrome too, because he does this with that. But he's become a little notorious for comparing every game to The Witcher 3, which isn't a new thing. Like most people hold that game up as like the pinnacle of like modern game design. I still haven't played it. It's on my to-do list for this year, but I am wondering though, like the cool thing about like when people can do that, like people are like, oh, why is the game not like Dark Souls, or why is the game not like The Witcher, or why is the game not like Breath of the Wild? Is that it does force game developers to adapt, and it does force them to it does challenge them to think in new ways. And I don't even think that. I think if you look at how the development community in particular has like rapturously received Breath of the Wild, I think there's a lot of devs who are going to look at this game and take it as a challenge and say, I want to make a game with this level of interactivity now. So it does suck that you're having that experience now, but I do think in the long run we're going to see more games that have interactive open worlds that really let you do stuff that matters. So I think that's so cool, you know?
Yeah, when a game changes the expectations of so many people, you have to kind of go with the flow.
Absolutely.
So we'll see if there's any climbing in the next big open world games that come out.
We will.
So what have you been playing?
Well, on the subject of open world games, I have a game that's open universe. Ben, you know the game. The game is called Everything. For those who are not in the know, Everything is a small indie game. I think it came out in March, right? It just came out.
Fairly recent, yeah.
It didn't get too much press. I mean, it came out in the middle of like Switch Miss, so it's a PlayStation 4 game that I think is coming out on PC too. Um, I could actually see them bringing this game to Switch. It could definitely run on the Switch, but
that'd be cool.
It's very much so an indie game. It's like very interesting and experimental in its aesthetics and its design, but oh, it is something else. So Ben here actually found this game. Him and Dan found it one night, and they were watching a trailer, and they're like, "Oh my god, this is amazing!" So Ben recommended the game to me for one of our Let's Plays. I actually part of the reason too why it's cool that we're talking about it right now. I just finished up editing that Let's Play, or at least I finished editing it. I have to do post production, After Effects and stuff like that. But we are going to release that this week, either Thursday or Sunday on one of the two drops we do this week that are remaining. So you might even be you might have heard it by the time this podcast comes out, or you might have seen it by the time this podcast comes out, or you might be about to see it. Either way, getting to the bulk of the game itself, it's hard to explain everything, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to really say it, but basically it's taking the ideas and the teachings of it's based on a philosopher, right? Or
Alan Watts.
It's taking Alan Watts and Alan Watts is in the game.
Has actual recordings of him that play at different points of the game.
Yes. And Alan Watts is, I believe, is he existentialist? What is his?
Yeah, something like that. The game is very existentialist.
I would say so. It has a very existentialist bent to it. It's based on the work of Alan Watts, and there are recordings of him during lectures in the game. But the main idea of the game is that you literally start out as an atom. You name yourself anything you want. Maybe Biggles Kojima, which is what Ben and I named ourselves. Shouts out Hideo Kojima. Now,
shouts out to Biggles.
Shouts out Biggles Kojima, now and forever. You start out as an atom. You become a bighorn sheep, but I've heard that that was random. You could basically become any animal.
You just start as an animal, I'm pretty sure.
And you're on this planet. You go around. You notice that you can telepathically talk to everything, and by everything, I literally mean you can go up to a boulder, and the boulder will start telepathically talking with you, and it'll tell you things about the world. And you interact with people. You learn to sing. You learn that you can actually get different types of your same species to follow you and make a flock, like you would in real life. And it is so wacky. I mean, literally, say that you play as a bighorn sheep. Your character doesn't even have a walk animation. He literally just flips around over and over again. It is amazing. It is like the first 3 minutes. I didn't even cut anything in the first 3 minutes of this. It was literally just you and me being like blown away every moment. It is such a cool experience. You know, I don't even want to say too much about it. More so.
Do you want to touch on the main mechanic?
The main mechanic is basically the fact that you can, well, let's just say you can be anything. You can be everything.
It's almost like you're playing as consciousness.
You are, exactly. You're playing as a consciousness. You're not playing as anything. And the whole point of the game is that you need to really walk a mile in something else's shoes to understand it. They even physically say that to you at one point. So the whole idea is you get to see how everything sees the world. You see how an atom sees the world. You can shrink down, see how the grass sees the world, see how a microbe sees the world, and then go back up.
And it's basically infinite. You could go inward or outward infinitely.
Exactly. The Let's Play ends with me and Ben becoming a planet and freaking out about it. And then, in fact, after that...
the game doesn't even end there.
It didn't. No, we played for about another 20 minutes afterwards, and what I'm doing now, I don't even want to go into it just for the sake of keeping some of it. I would say I don't even want to talk too much more about this game because again, I do think there's an amazing element of surprise to just going into it blind like we did.
Yeah.
But it is truly an amazing experience. If you guys have $15 to drop, I would absolutely recommend the game because it's not just an experimental. It's not like Dear Esther or something like that. Even though I do like Dear Esther, it is absolutely it is a game with mechanics and like a real sense of progression, and there is gamey elements to it, but it also feels natural.
And
Like
it's also really cerebral.
it is. It's very cerebral.
It wants you to think. It's not just a fun game, even though it is.
Exactly, it is. But the cerebralness and the gaminess of it, for lack of a better term, go very hand in hand. Where there is the game awards you for progression. It awards you for trying things, for just being different things and being different creatures and doing different things with them. And there is just something so cool about that. And I just love the game. I really do. I've been playing it. The fact that we bought this game for a let's play. I didn't even know if I was gonna ever play it again. And I ended up, frankly, I've spent on top of my time with Breath of the Wild. I spent probably about 5 6 hours with this game during a time that I'm editing videos and working a full time job. I think that says something about the quality of the game.
There you go.
Oh, and then the other thing that happened this week, just to touch on it, obviously I brought up my birthday was this week. So I got a couple cool things. One is Horizon Zero Dawn, which I will definitely play sometime in the next few weeks, just to get a taste of it and kind of talk about it here on podcast. Although, as you guys know, I have a schedule of games I still need to get through now that I am coming up on the end of Breath of the Wild the next 30 hours or so. So I don't know if I'm going to do a full playthrough, but I definitely want to touch up on that. But the one cool thing I did get was a Pro controller. So,
Oh yeah.
which is very cool because we were bringing this up. I'm still not 100% happy, or do I agree with the price? But I got one. I love it. It feels so good. I played about 2 hours of Breath of the Wild with it, and I must say, it felt like a different experience. One, just because I was playing on a big screen, which I haven't done. As I mentioned many times here, I played mostly in portable for this game, but just the way that the controller feels in your hand, it's so nice. And I still like the Joy Cons, and I still think I'll play that way. Um,
With the
but
big face buttons, right?
the big face buttons, the nice directional pad, there's something so nice about having that option, particularly for like a fighting game like Street Fighter or something like that.
Yeah.
You know?
I'm sure Puyo Tetris would feel great with that big old D-pad.
Oh, I'm sure it would too. All right.
So speaking of new controllers,
Speaking
there
of,
was an interesting announcement in the last Nintendo Direct.
so what happened?
The special looking neon yellow Joy-Cons,
Neon yellow Joy Cons.
which sold me, honestly. I'm a sucker for that stuff, but yeah, neon yellow. I'm wondering, they're coming out this quickly with a new color. I'm wondering how quickly they'll come out with more.
We've talked about this a bit, but I definitely think that that's going to be a big thing. Different colors, maybe even Joy Cons with like add-ons and stuff. I think they're going to make a lot of moves in that area because it's a good
Yeah.
business decision. So that's supposed to be for arms, right? Because like his are neon yellow too. The
It's
gloves.
gonna come out with arms, yeah, which was also touched on in the Direct.
Right.
And they actually went pretty in depth with arms. It looked pretty interesting. Did you see that part?
I did. So in general, now guys, we're going to talk about the entire Nintendo Direct, but just talk
Most of the important stuff.
as much as we can get to.
They actually said a lot of rapid fire stuff that we're not going to touch on everything.
Yeah,
but
it would be hard to talk. It was really a lot of information, but you watched the full Direct. I watched the highlight section and then the ARM section and the Splatoon section. So you might know a little bit more than me, but we'll if I need you to, we'll touch upon it. I did watch the ARM section though, to answer your question in the most long-winded way possible.
It looked pretty interesting. It's coming off as more of a game to me now than like a motion, like a Wii motion game, mini game, something like that.
100%. I well, you and I had different initial receptions of ARMS. I did feel that way about it, but I was very intrigued from the get-go because it felt like a more complete version of the Wii boxing. I loved the Wii boxing just because that was when I first got the Wii. Me and my dad played that together. Like that's probably to this day still the most I've ever played a video game with my dad. So part of me was like, especially because I'm still living at home for the moment, like, oh, this is really cool. Like, This is before I knew the Joy Cons were gonna be fucking $80 a piece, but I was like, this is like a really cool way that me and my dad can do that. But it's like a full game, and like I could already see hints that there was more to it under the surface. But
Hmm.
I will agree that like getting to see that in this direct made me feel even better about the game. Like there's definitely a lot going on. I don't know. I think there is something cool about it. One of the core things I saw in the direct was that I wasn't expecting at all was the fact that I was expecting more of an Overwatch type thing where every character had a set of arms that was just kind of baked into it, and that would encourage you to play with them. And there still is an element because like every character does have a special ability, but I really like the idea that like there are customizable arms, and it sounds like even like there might be ones that are special to each character. So like there is this kind of same way that when in Mario Kart 7, I believe they added the idea of different wheels and different body types. Like there's this level of customization where you can kind of strategically choose how you're going to go into a battle in a situation that I think could lead to some like amazing encounters.
Definitely agree. The fact that it's not all tied to each character and you can do all the crazy customizations, it's gonna make it a lot more in depth to play.
Absolutely.
Definitely agree. So is Arms a buy for you?
Right now, it's a definite buy.
Definite. That didn't sound definite.
It's a definite maybe sort of. It's a definite buy
I'm not
if I
sold. I'm
had
not
the
sold yet.
if I had the money for it. Well, I
It's not a
say
priority.
if it's good, it's a definite buy. If it's good and I have the money, it's a definite buy.
I just don't want to be waving my arms around. I'm not. I'm honestly
Would
like I'm not a person who's against motion controls for the sake of just that they're motion controls. But
you can turn that off. You can play with
oh,
a
I know.
controller
But it's obviously
designed that way.
designed that way. I don't know. Yeah, I'd be open to the buttons and the motion, but I'll have to see like if the buttons feel stunted. I don't know. But yeah. Well, that's a wait and see. We'll see how good that is. I'll definitely try it when it comes out.
I am in all actuality, I'm cautiously optimistic. I want it to be good, but if I hear that maybe it's like okay, I'll wait for it to go on sale.
Exactly. So also well, Mario Kart and Splatoon, they were just pushing those because they're coming out
Oh,
soon. Definitely excited for those
Mario Kart 8 comes out like what
next week
next week? That's right.
or so. It may be a week after,
No,
but
28th, so 10 days from now.
yeah, that's a definite buy.
I actually, funny enough, one of the things I asked for my birthday, it's coming in the mail.
Nice. So also announced was Minecraft for Switch, which
Is awesome.
for posterity's sake, gotta have it. It's not crazy news or anything, and
Yeah.
it's pretty much it'd be news if it didn't get it. But
I mean, literally, I think every system on the goddamn planet has gotten it at this point. Like,
yeah,
I think there's like a Commodore 64 version of fucking Minecraft.
it's important that it just has it on there, and it's
It
got
is.
the portable aspect. That's pretty.
It
Has
is.
there been a full featured Minecraft portable?
There was an iPhone version that was like very much so watered down from what I
That's what I'm
believe.
saying.
I don't.
This might be the first time you get that full Vita. I don't know.
I
Was it
think
on Vita?
there was a Vita version, but I do think that was still a little neutered even.
Hmm.
This is gonna be like a full featured version.
It's gonna be good, and it comes with all the Nintendo worlds.
See, that almost made. I remember I saw that and I was like, I'm interested. I'm interested just because I loved Minecraft back. I don't know if you were ever so like crazy into it, but I know for a bit me and Dan Roach were like playing that game heavily, and it's weird because like that game. Remember, like in 2010, that game was cool, and now it's become like this thing that kids play.
Well, I think kids always played it, but
Yeah,
maybe it's just each generation keeps playing it. I don't know.
yes, but I think at one point it was more of like a like it was like a
More
core
ubiquitous.
not ubiquitous or more maybe it was more just like core gamers like accepted it, whereas now I feel like it's kind of considered like kiddie, you know.
Yeah, I could see that. Most of the most core gamers have moved on from it.
They have, but I mean to be fair, they're that way with anything that becomes like widely popular and like is marketed to kids. But
It happens.
I actually think the Switch version of Minecraft in general, for some reason, it excites me. The idea of getting to play it on the go, the idea of getting to use Mario, even though people have already like made their own Mario assets, and like if you really want to, you can probably find about 10 different servers of little kids who made their fucking Mario worlds. But something about the officially licensed products, I don't know. I'm a sucker for that shit, you know,
Hmm.
especially if it's Nintendo. Did you have anything else to say about Minecraft?
Not really. I'm glad that it's on there.
Me
I'm
too.
not gonna buy it, but I'm glad it's available.
Me too.
We also got anything else?
Nothing. You lead the way. You're a little bit more aware of the full breadth of it.
Um, Payday 2.
That was one I was actually going to bring up.
That's that I'm excited for. That I might actually get. I played Payday on the PC.
Here was awesome.
Yeah, I had a little group I played with online, and you really need that. And it's multiplayer only, I think, where you do the heist. You know the conceit of the game.
Yeah,
You
you
team up and
plan heist.
plan heists and pull them off. And
I've heard it's like a mix of like Left 4 Dead and like Call of Duty Zombies and like a little bit of a. Well, I
yeah,
guess
there's a lot of hordes. They're policemen and whatnot, but there's hordes. You just have to murder hordes.
yeah.
And
But there still was like a mechanic of like you want to try to get the heist and complete it and like get out of there, right?
yeah, there's definitely like a stealth aspect and different missions to do, and get the diamonds. It's really fun.
It is.
Each
and,
mission was different. There was one on a bridge, I remember.
yeah.
I really liked it, and it could be really good for Switch local online multiplayer.
Oh yeah.
You know,
I heard mixed things about Payday 2 actually. I don't know if maybe some people didn't like it as much as the first one or maybe it was just like more the same, but I am really excited.
hmm
Like you said, local multiplayer on the Switch, I think that has a lot of potential.
I think yeah, if it's a more of the same kind of deal, I'm totally fine with that because I'd just as easily play the first Payday on there. And another thing was 3 new Link amiibos,
Yes, that was a big thing.
which I think I predicted.
Did
I might have said it on the last cast.
I think you did say that that was
But
some what were the three? I know it was Skyward Sword. Was it Skyward Sword and Fierce Deity, which are the two that we know are coming at some point?
um, well, no, it's Skyward Sword Link, Twilight Princess Link, and Majora's Mask Child Link.
Oh, right.
Yeah, and each one is taken from their original concept art. So I think the Majora's Mask one might give you Fierce Deity in Breath of the Wild,
Yeah.
but that's not what the amiibo is. Although that would have been cool.
It'd be cool if it just gives you Majora's Mask.
Oh, that'd be dope too.
Imagine it has like some crazy effects on it too and stuff. Like,
I'd rather. I don't know. Majora's Mask is probably your best bet, but Fierce Deity, the whole getup with the
yeah.
sword,
Ooh.
that'd be awesome too.
Well, I don't remember where, but apparently someone hacked the Wii U game and that was in there, so it's coming at some
Yeah.
point.
Maybe that was how I knew the prediction.
It's been something that's been floating around on like Zelda sites and like
Yeah.
Zelda YouTube videos for a while now. But
Also, it's kind of just obvious. Like the 30th, they're branded with the 30th anniversary.
oh
They
yeah,
already had 8-bit, the Ocarina, and Wind Waker.
makes
So
sense.
makes sense, yeah.
It just makes sense to go forward in that direction. And then obviously the 8-bit one, which I love the 8-bit one. That's one of my favorite
Mhm.
amiibos of all time.
So good. Now they just need like a Link to the Past.
Oh
They
yeah,
get that in there, and
like have it designed like the 8-bit sprite or the
if
16
they
bit.
do a 16-bit one,
16-bit.
that'd be cool. I was thinking like the just the old school Link concept art.
That'd be amazing. I don't know. Can you? I feel like 16 bits like a little harder to like texturally show than like 8-bit, but
It'd be just more blocks.
or less blocks, right? And the
Um,
whole point is it looks more rounded, right?
yeah, so you need more. The more pixels you have, the less you see.
So you need more blocks. You're right.
Yeah.
More or less blocks.
Yep.
More or less blocks. All right. So one last thing I do want to talk about
What's
because
that?
for me at least, this was one of the cooler announcements. Wasn't even necessarily anything. And all the other games were awesome too, but Splatoon 2, the Horde mode, that was like the one thing where I was like, I mean, I'm already getting Splatoon 2, but I was like, I'm definitely. I mean,
What was that?
the like what the tadpole trouble or whatever that was, like the like the co-op
With the
mode.
eggs in it?
I don't know why that just got me very excited for Splatoon 2 just because I love competitive multiplayer games, but I always love when they have a co-op option just because
hmm
I'm one of those people who like when I get into a multiplayer game, I love playing it, but I do like the ability to like play like a quick play game like an Overwatch or like one of like their weird little side games. I like the idea, or like zombies in Call of Duty. I like the idea of something that like I can blow off steam playing. So I think that's such a cool addition to Splatoon 2. And I mean, especially with the local multiplayer, I can see you, me, and Dan just sitting here hanging out. We all have our Switches over and we're all playing that together and just having like the best time.
It's gonna happen.
I mean, there's going to be a lot of Friday nights that we're just like drinking beer and playing that, and I think that's such a cool way that like adding that gameplay. It's already an awesome thing that they would add already, but here's a cool thing like about the Switch that I'm realizing. Compared to other Nintendo consoles, one of their biggest failings has always been they have amazing concepts, but sometimes they're asking a lot of third-party developers to go out of their way to implement these things, or after a while, it just becomes harder and harder to develop these things. The Switch almost naturally, like a lot of things that you would naturally develop into a game, become amazing features. Like a horde mode, which is something every shooter game has, is now made so much cooler by the fact that you can all take it together and you can play it, or the fact that you can have wireless LAN sessions of Splatoon 2 wherever you go, you know? Like, that's not something that requires extra thinking or development time, but it's something that is just naturally, by the Switch's design, made amazing. And, I mean, again, it's already been, like, it's the second most successful console launch in North America of all time. It's been a humongous...
Best for Nintendo, right?
The best for Nintendo, which is... I am so overwhelmingly happy to say that was the case. But I think that, in the long run, this is the thing that could make the system become even more successful. The fact that just naturally in its design, there's all these amazing opportunities to play a game like Payday or a game like Splatoon, and I don't know. I just love that fact.
Me too.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
All right. So any other games or things you wanted to touch on?
That was everything that stood out to me from the Direct.
Yeah. I am interested in Dragon Quest Heroes, just because I like those Dynasty Warriors types games, but we didn't hear too much about it. And the Fire Emblem Warriors game is coming out too, and I feel like that's a little bit more interesting to me.
That touched on in the Direct?
No, but they did a Fire Emblem Direct right around the time that the Switch was announced, and that looked pretty cool.
That's gonna be good.
All right, so now that we've talked about all the new hot and happening things at the Switch, Ben, I think it's that time as always.
Seems like it.
All right, Ben. So reach out and shake my hand.
Put her there.
Audience, as always, I am giving Ben's hand a nice firm shake. I'm also reaching out metaphysically, shaking everyone's hands as well. I'm going to wish you a good night. I'm going to wish you a good week and good luck. But I'm also going to do something new, and I'm going to say, Ben, where can we find you online?
You can find me on Twitter at KeepPluggingLI, and everywhere else, Instagram, Facebook, SoundCloud, iTunes.
Yes.
All that. I think I missed one, but it's all Keep Plugging.
All right. Did you say YouTube?
YouTube, that's important.
Yes, YouTube is important. So
Keep Plugging.
YouTube. Sundays we tend to post the new podcast. Tuesdays or Thursdays we're going to start publishing all of our old back catalog once a week. We're also going to have at least one short or one Let's Play for you guys. Going forward, we're going to try to get that up for 2, but right now we're still ramping up production. Now,
sounds good.
Sounds good to me too. Obviously, every Saturday, sometime Sunday, you can find our podcast on SoundCloud, iTunes, and now YouTube. Now, you guys can find me on Twitter at Hi There Big Fella. You can find me on Instagram as The Sans Man. That's _Sans_man. You can find me on Snapchat as just Sansman. So Sans_man. And as always, though, find us on social media, find us in real life, find us in the ether.
Hit us up, ask a question.
Just tell us how you're doing.
Tell us how your day is.
Share something.
Send us a picture of your cat.
Please, all cat pictures, please. Send to catpicturesonly@gmail.com. I'm not affiliated, but they're great. They're doing great work. They're doing God's work out there. Guys, I hope you're good. As always, thank you for listening. Keep plugging.
Keep plugging.